In case you've been living under a rock the last few days, yes, we are officially getting a licensed Pathfinder 2e video game, The Dragon's Demand, based on the adventure path of the same name from Pathfinder 1st Edition. But unlike Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous, this time they are going all in with the Pathfinder 2nd Edition rule set. And they've released a good chunk of information about what this game is going to look like, which I will get into in just a moment, because before that, a lot of you might not have known, we already have a Pathfinder 2e video game. This isn't a stretch, this isn't a mod, this is a game that has existed on Steam since May 2023 as a demo, and released in March of this year as a full-fledged game. Dawnsbury Days is a Pathfinder 2e video game created by a small indie developer. Is it any good? I honestly have no idea, but that's what we're gonna find out tonight. If you are watching this video right when it goes live, I am live over on twitch.tv/KnownAt1s playing through Dawnsbury Days right now. So if you want to come see the game, the Pathfinder 2e video game, live and get my live reactions to it and opinions on it, come on by. I'd love to have you over there. I am stoked to see what this game has to offer. Just on Steam, it boasts having 13 different classes, 120 feats, 110 spells. I'm super excited. Now, the downside is it is capped to level 4. You cannot go beyond level 4 in this game. This is not Baldur's Gate, but it was made by a tiny little indie team. So if you're interested in Dawnsbury Days, come on over to twitch.tv/KnownAt1s and check it out with me. So, let's get to the big one. What could potentially be Pathfinder's Baldur's Gate.
Deep within the ancient Verduran forest of Golarion, in a treacherous swampland known as the Dragonfen, there is a tale about the dragon tyrant Aeterapax.
Ossian Studios is bringing us The Dragon's Demand Kickstarter, launching September 24th. That is like a week from now. They are simultaneously promising a lot, but they're also promising it in a way that makes it feel very, very attainable, even for a smaller studio like Ossian. Some quick background for Ossian Studios: they've been working on CRPGs for literal decades, most notably well known for their Neverwinter Nights modules they created for the games. Neverwinter Nights has a huge player modding community, and they have created some of the most popular. Tyrants of the Moonsea, Darkness over Daggerford, and Mysteries of Westgate were all huge modules for Neverwinter Nights 1 and 2. So I already feel like we are in really good hands from people who understand what makes CRPGs enjoyable. So let's go over their huge announcement on their website line by line and talk about what it is they're offering, what it's looking like we are going to get out of the Dragon's Demand Pathfinder 2e CRPG. So out the gate, they are saying that this game is being developed by veterans of Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights. Whether that means veteran developers or just veteran players of the game, it's a little ambiguous. We know they worked on the modules for Neverwinter Nights. I still haven't confirmed whether or not they have worked on the games themselves. It's claiming to be the first CRPG to have a comprehensive implementation of the Pathfinder 2e rule set, and this already feels a little bit untrue unless they are doing a lot more background work than they're leading on. The only reason I say this is because later in the post it says the game does cap out at player level 8. So to call it a comprehensive implementation feels a little underhanded unless they plan to add more modules and expansions to allow you to reach level 20. I think what would send this game to the moon is if they add easy modding support so people can create their own adventures up to level 20 and implement level 20 features for all of the character classes. But that's a nitpick. Level 8 in Pathfinder is still a very long game, especially if you are using normal encounter rules. By default, an average encounter is going to give you like 50 to 100 experience points, so by that logic, level 8 should take like 80 encounters minimum, which is a long game. Not counting quest experience, of course. They're boasting that quests are going to react to the player's choices. I'll be curious to see. A lot of people have promised that over the years, and it has not always come to fruition in a way that really feels tangible to the player. A lot of the time, the outcome is the same, but you get slightly different dialogue depending on choices. I really hope they go all in and make the quests possibly just big quest chains, that depending on side quests you do, other side quests might get locked, and new side quests might get unlocked unlocked based on, like, quote-unquote alignment choices. You know, you do something bad, this person's not going to trust you, but you might get the attention of that shady fellow over there. They're also saying you're going to run into iconic characters like Fumbus. If we can see every single iconic class character in this game, I will freak out. I'm sure they're going to take liberties and make their own, because who wouldn't want to make their own characters if they're making a video game? But we're going to see probably a lot of the iconic class characters we know and love, as well as probably a lot of the NPCs from the original Dragon's Demand adventure. Now, next they go on to describe a really interesting sort of style they're going for in this game, and I really don't hate it, but I do think it's going to deter a good chunk of people. The Dragon's Demand is designed as a living tabletop game. This is not Baldur's Gate 3. You will not be moving around a gigantic overworld with fluid animations, facial expressions, and living, breathing characters. No, you are going to be controlling game pieces. You will be controlling miniatures that represent your character. You can see in the screenshot shown here already, they've got miniature bases. They seem to be stuck in static poses. Maybe they'll be moving poses. That would be really cool. I don't know. But again, this is not a huge studio, so I understand why they're doing this. This is going to save them so much manpower, so much money, and it's more likely to help the game reach the heights of its mechanical fruition, even if the visuals aren't as great as something like Baldur's Gate, which who could expect them to be? It's not Larian and Hasbro. But they say by using these miniatures on a predefined grid, all of the encounters are going to be incredibly tactical and strategically challenging. There will be flying spellcasters throwing fireballs. If your party has no way to deal with an elevated enemy, you're gonna be in trouble and you're gonna need to figure something out, which is super cool. I'm glad it's not just going to be a run in and smack each other to death, because that's not what PF2 is designed for. So I'm really curious how this is gonna come across. If the mechanics are not as tight as humanly possible, all of this tabletop still image miniatures are going to come across as really lazy and unenticing. But if the mechanics and the story and the music and the acting and all of that is all top notch, I think people will absolutely be able to look past it to play the amazing game underneath. They're boasting that the game is going to be a little bit more than 30 hours long. Whether this includes doing all the side quests or not, I have no idea. But that sounds about right. If you're doing probably 80 encounters, maybe more like 50 encounters throughout the entire game, 30 hours sounds about right. Probably half an hour per encounter, and then the reading and the listening to the voice acting and whatnot should be good. That actually sounds a lot better than something like Kingmaker or Wrath of the Righteous to me, where those games can really drag on as you reach the ending. Sure, it's cool to have a game have more than 50 hours of content, but especially as I'm approaching 30, and time is a very valuable commodity, I would rather have a super tight 25-hour game than a really extended, stretched out, fillered 60-hour game. So let's go over the list of bullet point features they've listed here for this classic single-player CRPG party-based game. I'm a little butthurt at the single player. Maybe it'll be like a stretch goal on Kickstarter. I don't know, but like, I'd love to see co-op. I feel like co-op CRPGs are the future, and keeping this to single player is a big reason the Owlcat games did not take off as hard as they could have. We've already gotten confirmation that you will be making your own main character. Just like any good CRPG, you will be making your own character from, quote, 7 ancestries, so I'm guessing that's just going to be most of the main ancestries, 16 classes, and more than 30 different backgrounds. Yes, we are getting every single class from the original core rulebook and advanced player's guide. Obviously, they're going to be in their remastered forms, but we're getting things like the alchemist, the barbarian, the fighter, the oracle, the investigator. All of those are showing up. In fact, they're all listed right here. The playable ancestries are going to be dwarf, elf, gnome, goblin, halfling, human, and orc. I'm sorry, Leshy lovers, maybe it'll be a stretch goal. For classes, like I said, it's all of the 16 original classes from PF2's first year in development. We've got alchemist, barbarian, bard, champion, cleric, druid, fighter, investigator, monk, oracle, ranger, rogue, sorcerer, swashbuckler, witch, and wizard. Sadly, no secrets of magic, no guns and gears. I know there's a lot of people out there who want gunslingers. Again, make it a stretch goal, Ocean. If you can afford to, we would love to have gunslingers and firearms in this game. Max character level is 8, which is still an amazing amount of customization you can do from levels 1 to level 8. There's going to be all the different spells from all 4 spell traditions. Obviously, if you're having all the different tradition classes, you need all 4 spell traditions. And a big thing that makes me super excited, because I love to see my character change over an adventure, equipment changes your miniature. So even if your miniature is not going to be changing like poses or anything throughout the game. They're not going to be moving in the middle of combat. At least when I find a new sword, it's going to look like a new sword. When I find a new suit of armor, I'm going to be wearing a new suit of armor. That is exciting for me, and I have always loved that all the way back from like the PS2 games that did that, like Champions of Norath. And the final tidbit makes me think that it's going to play very similar to Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous, where you are going to be using a world map to go to singular secluded sub-maps, explore those, find the exit, go back to the world map, rinse and repeat as you go to different towns and dungeons and fields and open areas and whatnot. Ocean, I sincerely hope that you either A, expand the game with 4 level expansions, because I would buy 3 expansions over the course of a couple of years. Another expansion from 8 to 12, another expansion from 12 to 16, and a final expansion from 16 to 20. If they were like $10 each and the base game's like $25, $30, I would absolutely pay for that. I will say though, if the base game costs like $60 and it only plays to level 8 and the expansions aren't free, you might get a lot of angry customers. But I said it before and I think it bears repeating, the way this game will succeed and live and thrive is if you make it moddable. If you allow mod support and encourage people to make their own adventures, make their own dialogue, even make their own and import their own classes and ancestries with their own 3D models, especially if this can somehow implement like STL files, that would be incredible if you would let people use their STL files to make their own adventures. I think people would go to the moon with that, Ocean. But I'm just a random YouTuber who plays video games a lot more than he should. But that's all I have to say on the subject right now. There's a lot more to talk about with Dragon's Demand, and don't worry, when that Kickstarter goes live, I'm gonna be talking about it. For better or for worse, I want to be completely transparent with y'all. I am talking to Ocean about potentially partnering with the channel. That will not and will never sway my opinion on the game. If they make a choice during development that I don't agree with, I will make my voice heard about it. So I just want to keep the audience nice and comfortable there. I cannot be bought. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm super excited, Ocean. Can't wait to see what you do with Dragon's Demand. Shout out to all the members of the Known At Once Patreon for supporting me all these years. Thank you all so much. I'll see you with whatever video I make on Wednesday. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, Known At Once.